Friends, it is I, host Eric, and I'm here with my beloved Rachel Lapaloosa.
Hi.
Queen of the world. She's sitting over there on the couch. She's not on the camera, but she's here in our hearts. And actually here. Are you a cryptid? Might you secretly be a cryptid and not know it? Is it possible that you are a Sasquatch and just grown up thinking you were hairy? You know?
Can you be one and be 5'2"?
No, I think, baby, your feet are too small. They're called Bigfoot for a reason.
Ah.
You have to have big feet, too, of course. You can't just be hairy. You're not even very hairy. You're really not hairy at all. It's just your last name means hairy woman.
Yes, it does.
That doesn't actually make you a hairy woman.
Lucky me.
Hairy woman, walking down the street, hairy woman.
Now, do you think that hairy woman is a Sasquatch?
I mean, I think that Sasquatch women are hairy. For sure.
So,
I mean, I don't know if you...
possibility of that Sasquatch being a woman.
Oh, yeah, Sasquatch have women, too. Hi, Jack.
I meant the opposite. That.
You mean the woman might be a Sasquatch? Well, yes, that's true. At any moment, anybody might be a Sasquatch, and we might not even know it. Because Sasquatches are really good actors. So when they want to act human, they're very convincing. They use the method acting approach to acting. Yeah, they come from the method acting school. So, Jack, I've been a little concerned that you might be actually either the Loch Ness Monster or an equivalent kind of ocean/deep lake monster. Possibly the Kraken. I'm concerned that you might secretly be the Kraken. In which case, you're definitely a cryptid. There are more than just Sasquatches out there, you know. There's Loch Ness Monsters. There's pterodactyl beasts. There are Tyrannosaurus rexes hiding behind trees somewhere in the world.
Yetis?
Yetis? Sure. They're your white furred version of your Sasquatch. They make their home in the Himalayan mountains. 10 signs to look out for to spot a covert Sasquatch. Well, 10. Ooh, you're really putting the pressure on, Jack. Okay. Number 1. They blend in with trees really well. Number 2. They make your electronic equipment malfunction. Number 3. When they pass trees, they knock on them with other pieces of wood. Number 4, when you go out to lunch with them, instead of ordering a meal, they run out and kill a deer and eat it raw in front of you. Number 5. Number 5. They keep accidentally referring to themselves as a Sasquatch. I mean human, like that. That's pretty good cue. Number 6, they're dating a Sasquatch. Sasquatches normally date other Sasquatches. So, if your friend is dating a Sasquatch, probably they're a covert Sasquatch. Number 7, they subscribe to Sasquatch newsletters or watch SET, which is Sasquatch Entertainment Television. Yeah. It's mostly a bunch of Tyler Perry shows. Anyway, what am I, number 9? 8? Number 8, they seem to go through safety razors at an alarming rate. Number 9, when they hear people yelling in the woods, they have an irrepressible urge to throw rocks. And number 10, their name is Sasquatch. It's a good sign that they're probably a Sasquatch. Covert Sasquatch. That's a clear alias. As a common Sasquatch alias. Sasquatches with aliases are like people with passwords. You know, when they decided to send covert teams of Sasquatches into the world, they said, okay, everybody, you need to make up a human name to go by while you're in the covert operation. And first guy's like, I'm going to go with Sasquatch. And the second guy's like, oh, hey, I was thinking the same thing. I'm also going to go with Sasquatch. But fortunately, one of the Sasquatches got it, basically. I was like, no, you guys don't get it. You need to give yourself a human name that indicates to them that you're not a Sasquatch. I'm glad you've been taking notes, Jack. Good. Very glad. Very important stuff. Now, the debate's still raging. Are there covert Loch Ness monsters? Or is a Loch Ness monster too big to covertly integrate into human society? You know, experts on both sides of the equation have been arguing at this point for years now. I think, yes, they're much too big to normally integrate into human society, but they're even better actors than the Sasquatches. Why? Why must people text and call and yell me? Why? What are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Does Mothman count as a cryptid?
Oh yeah, Mothman's a cryptid for sure. I'm streaming right now, but I'll respond to this later.
Hi, Kitty Wonder Pants. Wonder Pants. You're the Kitty Patch winner. But you do clean yourself so much.
Alright. Voice to text. King says his future girlfriend is a cryptid, and that's why you haven't found evidence for existence yet. Hilarious jokes. It might be that instead of being a cryptid, she's merely encrypted, and you have to decrypt her. Mothman does count as a cryptid, yes. And Bubble Puppy, I've long suspected you of being Mothman, so I had two questions about the cognitive function measuring chart of FI weight duration. Is it like something you're aware of how heavy something will hurt someone, or am I getting it wrong? I didn't really get it. It just means like people enter into varying kinds of relationships rather blithely in general, and every time they enter into any kind of relationship, romantic or otherwise, it's possible they'll grow close to that person and the person will become important to them. But as soon as you become attached to somebody, then you're empowering them to hurt your feelings, or for your feelings to be hurt because of something happening to them. In other words, it extends your realm of the selfish to that which you love as well. And so, like when my dog died, it was a huge blow for me. And it was through that experience that I kind of learned about, oh shit, like real like sorrow doesn't really go away. It fades over time, for like grief, you know. It fades over time, and but you always carry it with you. You always carry it for the rest. I'll carry it for the rest of my days. My, you know, sort of long time I had with, you know, a good 10 years or so, or 12 years, 11 years, something like that I had with the dog. It's sort of a long time, but it will ultimately end up representing, you know, less than a tenth. I mean, a little more than less than a sixth, let's say, of my lifespan, right? So, and yet, she remains important to me because I'm an SI type. I view my life as growing behind me as I move forward through life. You know, like everything that happens, however it goes down, it goes on the permanent record. Part of my story. If you're looking for a girlfriend, what you gotta do is say, I'm a man and you a woman. You know what that means. Women are very responsive to that. Very, very responsive to that. You know what that means. You gotta say it like that. Is there really such a thing as good grief?
That's a great question.
It is a great question. Well, I mean, kind of, yeah. Like when I was saying to Rachel, we were talking the other day in bed, and I said, you know, we should feel sad. In that instance, trying to get over something too fast or not be bothersome about something that's significant enough is denying yourself your own importance. You know, in a way, it's not ultimately desirable. But fortunately, Rachel and I work together as a team in general to talk with each other about our shit so that we can celebrate the moments of our life with International Foods Brand coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrate the moments of your life as well, friends. How? With International Foods Brand coffee. Cafe Francais.
Yes.
Oh, Joan, do you remember that little place in France, in Paris, where we sat? Pierre was the waiter. Oh, this takes me right back. Just like that. I couldn't believe it. I saw on a billboard the other day. Driving in the car. Apparently, this is going to be the last season of Blackish. I was like, what? You know, I could use at least 10, 30, 100 more seasons of that show. It's hilarious because it's a hilarious modern twist on race. I mean, the thing is, Alien 60, it's like, I think Rachel and I both feel a certain amount of, like, rising tension when there's like a big negativity of some sort. And sometimes there's a negative reality in your life, though, that is not. And at which point it's like, Effie really lets you down, you know, because it's like Rachel's concerned a lot about how I'm going to be impacted by her difficulty, even though she's the one who's suffering all of the actual symptoms and consequences of it. So why should she be worrying about me? You know, I should be worrying about her, right? And I try to as best I can. I mean, I do unavoidably. I don't try to worry. I sometimes can't help but worry, and then when that happens, I feel fretful and anxious because I want solutions and I want them now. But in general, I'm probably too good at compartmentalizing. So it's like Rachel could like be diagnosed with some kind of terminal cancer or something, and somehow in between hospital visits I'd like forget about it, you know. It sounds horrible, right? But it's some bipolar thing. But this thing has, I mean, the truth is, if it's significant enough, I can't stop thinking about it because it's too important. And then if I can't solve it, it's just incredibly distressing. But as long as, regardless of whether I can solve it, as long as we know for sure what status we're operating under the presumption of, then it's not a problem still. It's just when we don't know what status we're even operating under the presumption of because we don't have clarity enough that things get really frustrating. Because I like to have certain mapping points nailed down for things so that I can know how to feel, I guess you'd say. And I've said this before to people and gotten odd responses to it, but to me it seems like I have to figure out how to feel by thinking. I have to figure out how I should feel about things a lot of times. Although a little bit more lately I've noted the feelings first and then the figuring out maybe, but usually I have to figure out how I feel about things by thinking about it. Well, let's see, is it fair? Is it, you know, all those other things. But when you're in distress, then I just feel hand-wringing, anxious, and like sometimes mad at whatever is not adequately helping us, you know. Anyway, the point is, we're kind of not in that space at all right now emotionally. We're in a good emotional space. Rachel seems to be doing better and feeling better. Did your symptoms increase since you took the Prozac? Okay, that's probably indicative that it was incidental. Dave of all people is here. Can you believe it? Dave of all people. Well, I want to know what the status is, right? So I can deal with it once and for all, so to speak. Like, if it's bad news, I want to know it's definitely bad news, so I can come to terms with it. And if it's not bad news, I want to know it's definitely not bad news, so I can stop worrying about it. What I don't like is being in an emotionally uncertain place. Like, I'm worried because it could be bad, but I'm sort of not worried because I don't think it's going to be bad or something. And then it's like, well, I don't know how to feel. I noticed that if I don't feel enough for a while, eventually everything that I should have been feeling hits me at the same time. I end up having to think through every individual situation to get out. I think that phenomenon occurs to me, but I lose a lot of the shit. So in other words, if I don't feel enough for a while, most of that stuff that I don't feel is lost forever. But some of it'll come back and hit me. Usually there's just sort of a delayed reaction to understanding what something means until I experience a feelings-based phenomenon linked to it. So like when after my second divorce, I felt sad about it only when I hit Thanksgiving, which was a couple months after the divorce, and I realized, oh well, I no longer have a family like I had for the last years. Like I no longer have that nuclear family thing, but I didn't have it already anyway because Delilah had gotten to be 18 years old and was going to college, and that's the end of your little like let's play house shit, right? Because once the kid's out of the house, then you no longer really have a little nuclear family. There is just you and your wife. And if you and your wife aren't fundamentally on the same team, like I didn't really like Candace especially much. Not that I disliked her, but I didn't especially enjoy spending time with her, you know. Basically, I was saying, okay, you let me do my thing and you do your thing and we're fine. Which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that in a relationship that is structured the way mine was, basically, which is we were very busy anyway, so we didn't have a lot of free time. We both were working a lot, and the marriage was not exactly explicitly, but was definitely purposed as Candace will be the mother of my child. She got close with Delilah when Delilah was 3. Her biological mother left when Delilah was 2, and I was able to provide Delilah a constant, an actual mother to replace her shitty biological mother, from age 3 that all the way through. I didn't switch up chicks on her, you know. So I feel good about that. Like now she has a stepmom. That's definitely her stepmom. Candace took to the job like shit to the toilet, you know. she loved packing lunches, but putting a Capri Sun in there, and a little meow in there, and a little meow in there, and so that she was thinking, boy, when the other mothers see the lunch that I've packed for my child, they're going to realize what a shitty job they do and how wonderful a mother I am. And she probably never even thought, like, the parents aren't there at lunchtime. The kids don't think about that shit. I guarantee you, she never occurred to her. Anyway, she was funny. But she was, like, exactly what you want in a mother for up until Delilah hit adolescence, you know. She was great, perfect for child Delilah. Really good mother for a child, you know. Of course, they started butting heads as Delilah entered into adolescence because the SFJs don't want you to change. And what's the difference between critical parent, FE, and FI? The vowel. FE, critical parent, is like, if I am perceived as awkward, I get mad at myself. FI, critical parent, is like, if I accidentally hurt someone's feelings, I get mad at myself. That's a nice straightforward answer, huh? I thinking feeling don't have to be necessarily legitimate or justified, just they're just what they are. Well, no, feelings aren't justifications for things. They're just, it's like, they represent boundaries and motivations. Okay? Like, feelings allow me to know where my personal boundaries are. And a personal boundary is something that you can say, I say no to that, and I don't want to justify myself. That's a personal boundary, okay? Sometimes FI people are guilty of overusing well, publicly anyway, Legends Fall. I mean, it is true that you will hear me criticize others' bad TE, although I'm not exactly criticizing it, right? Well, I guess I am. But the thing is, what makes it the critical parent is that I only do that about people who don't know me and can't come back at me with, oh, so what? Here's the pot calling the kettle black. You know, since I only talk about people that don't know me, so that they can't. The people I'm talking about don't say, are you talking shit about my TE? Who are you to talk shit? You know, it's like, yeah, I do criticize other people's bad TE. That's true, but the reason it's my critical parent is because I'm gonna crumble beneath that argument. Oh yeah, that's right. I've got no business criticizing anybody else's TE. Okay. Stop
Peter?
just standing there and looking at me with expectant eyes. I was being oppressed by his expectant eyes. He was FE pressuring me. Well, I mean, obviously I do too. Although I typically don't. I guess I typically don't frame it as critique of TE so much as I typically will frame it as a failure to care. Like I'm not asking you to be a genius or something. Just care enough to try to do your job well or something. If you're gonna be charging me money for it anyway. Oh. I've got plenty of copy left, thanks. Well, I mean, here's another way you know as a critical parent. For me, TE literally manifests as my critical parent, okay? And my dad does this shit all the time to me. I start saying, well, so did you, I go, no, I'm gonna wait for this thing and then I'm gonna meow. And he goes, well, have you mad? And I go, no. Okay. Didn't think so. And it's just like, it shuts down whatever I'm saying completely. It's like, that's more of an SE critique, I guess. You didn't do meow yet, but really it's a TE thing. Like, you know, there's an order of operations to getting mom to go to the Cheesecake Factory. And one of my jobs is to call transportation and schedule it. But it was Saturday. I had forgotten to call them. I hadn't called them yet, and we were going on Monday. And my dad comes out and he goes, did you schedule transportation? First he asked me, like, is Delilah coming? And I would say yes. And he says, "Did you schedule a consultation?" I'm like, no, you didn't. What am I gonna say? At that point, I just go, no, I didn't. I could say not yet, like I was going to tomorrow, but the reality is, I've forgotten about it. So, and that's why TE is so effective at criticizing people. I mean, criticizing me. Because, in fact, you can always find some order of operations thing that I should have done that I didn't. I'm aware of it enough to recognize the validity of what you're saying. And I hold myself to a standard with the thing that's higher than I can ever actually achieve. How is, like, the critic in INTP's NI would be? Well, I mean, I think I kind of hit Rachel's doctor in the face in his TE, in his NI a little bit. Because the problem here is a lack of definitiveness from anybody, right? We should be able to get to definitiveness relatively easily because we have this precipitating event, and also because like, for example, if as Dr. Ingram posited, Rachel's B12 levels are then maybe we should get a B vitamin test. Okay, if that is in fact the problem, what I want to know before you hypothesize that that's the problem is that you've noticed a linkage somewhere to justify you hypothesizing that. Such as, well, I know Rachel drinks a lot of coffee creamer, and there's an empirically established link between coffee creamer consumption and B vitamin depletion. Okay, fine, great. Maybe she does have B vitamin depletion. But I want to know, is there something in these drugs she's taking, being prescribed, that causes B vitamins to go away? Is there something in smoking weed or nitrous or whatever we're doing? Is there anything specific that's causing her to not have sufficient B vitamins? Because we eat plenty of red meat, so it's not some sort of vegan thing. Well, like when I hit him in the NI, when I said basically, look, it's this and nothing else because meow, 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 meow. And I don't want your NE. I want you to NI. That was me basically saying to him, like, it's like somebody telling me, look, Eric, right now I'm not paying you to be right, I'm paying you to be useful. Which would make me go, ouch, fuck, my bad. It would just be, it would be an extremely effective way to bust my chops. Stress decreases your B12? Okay, well, prior to experiencing these symptoms, Rachel was not stressed. These symptoms have been somewhat stressful. But, were you stressed? No, we were having a happy ass time.
Maybe a little bit, like, over things that I have told you, though. Like, I was worrying about, like, my mom visiting, my brother's wedding, and my cousin.
Okay, but that wouldn't explain us.
Right.
Like,
but that was such a short, like, period of time that it couldn't count as, something that would increase my, numbness and hand tingling and neuropathy. I don't think that has anything to...
Okay, well, Cami 9, if that's the case, explain the mechanism by which that occurs. Because that's a claim you're making that might be true, that nitrous oxide in some fashion or another depletes or results in too low B vitamin levels. But for you to make that claim, you need to explain the mechanism. What do you mean by consumption? You mean the body's utilization of the B12 that's consumed, or what? The key thing is, if you want to make that assertion, the nitrous does interfere with B vitamins in some fashion, then you need to know what the mechanism is first. Otherwise, you got no reason to make the claim in the first place. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if it is a B12 thing, then it was just, I guess, coincidentally linked with the consumption of the DMT. Remembering the precipitating event again, which I will describe for everybody again, she blew out a big cloud of DMT smoke, walked out of here over to the railing, threw up, went around, washed it away, and then went and lay down, and she hasn't really been the same since. In terms of her physical sensations and stuff. Now, yeah, so there's a precipitating event that's fairly dramatic. And note as well that Rachel does not have a weak stomach like me. I'll throw up over. Well, actually, you know when you cough a lot, you kind of throw up a little bit. But she doesn't really throw up like she did that time.
I don't get like food.
That was just like full on hurling.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I've never seen her do that before. I've seen her puke a little bit after coughing too much, after pulling a bad bong rip or something. But she's not somebody who hurls that I've seen before. So, and although she did have a little bit of alcohol the day before, I don't think you were hungover, were you? And you only had like a couple beers, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't even really drink.
Yeah, she had like 2 beers in it before.
Yeah, so I was trying. I wasn't doing like what a person who does drugs like there were times where like Corey was like, inhale more, and I was like, no, like.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Strauss. I'm calling to see if Jeffrey can work with you today.
Today? I'm live streaming right now.
Oh, he really wants to. I mean, needs to work with you. Do you think it's possible?
Okay, but see, when we talked last night, I specifically said to him, he needs, what he wants to talk about is something that we can't even talk about, right? Because we don't.
It's not English. It's history.
History? Oh, something different. Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, what does he want to talk about? Opium wars?
I'm sorry?
Is it about the opium wars?
I don't know. He's not home right now.
All right. Well.
He said work with Mr. Strauss tonight.
All right. After I'm done streaming.
Okay. So what time is good for you? I mean, if you can just
like
give me a time.
7.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
Cool.
good. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. As long as it's not that stupid English shit. Jeffrey basically is trying to delegate to me, like, the laborious part of the English work, which is hammering it all out, like, he wants me to hammer it all out for him ahead of time verbally so that he can have an easier time of writing it. But I can't talk to him about how to write about a story when he doesn't know what kind of paper he's supposed to write. Yeah, it's definitely neuropathy. I mean, whether it, what they call it, a couple of things, right? They call it either neuropathy or paresthesia or whatever it's called. But yeah, she's an ESTJ, guys. Yeah, Alien 60, you nailed it. She's an ESTJ. It definitely is a neuropathy. The thing is, I asked the psychiatrist to articulate the dangers of nitrous, and what he articulated was what I thought I was going to hear, which is nothing dressed up as something. A problem easily solved by not doing nitrous standing up. I mean, I'm pretty sure either he or the neurologist would have mentioned the linkage between nitrous and B12, since everybody says, well, this sort of stuff is often caused by B12 deficiencies. Well, that's fine, but how and why do people get B12 deficiencies? If we can establish that Rachel's not really hasn't met those conditions, then it's not that. It's true that without NI, nothing would go forward, or without SE, nothing would go forward, because any users would just talk everything to death, right? Like, here we are again, busy as bees we are. With all of us here. We are busily working away at something. But we're not really doing anything. We're just talking. So, if you want to live in a very chatty world, then incorporate as much any as possible. But don't expect a lot of shit to get done. Strangers in the night, exchanging glances, wanderings in the night. Well, thanks, Karma Spamp. I'll try to continue to do a good job.
You are doing a good job.
I'm trying to be as neutral as possible. Will not be any improvement in the work of NI. Well, it's basically, in the ultimate NI vision of things, there's nothing new in the world. Everything's been done before, and we're all just repeating the patterns humanity's manifest throughout its history. That's sort of the ultimately reductive NI perspective. And the ultimately reductive SI/NE perspective, really it's an SI perspective. There are no universals. Everything is particularist, and you can never really understand anybody unless you walked a mile in their shoes. And you can never really understand anything until you've experienced it. So, the thing is, yeah, the serotonin syndrome doesn't seem in any doubt. The thing that I wanted to know from the psychiatrist is it possible for serotonin toxicity to cause the neuropathy by itself? In other words, is there anything to suggest that these symptoms go with serotonin syndrome sometimes, even though they're not exactly the textbook symptoms of serotonin syndrome? Yo, big fan ESTJ here, hitting that skirt. Would you mind explaining an iris SI blind spot and how that manifests? Sure, I'll explain that. So, in eye blind spot, one of the ways it manifests is if you are an ESTJ, then when I ask you the following question, you're going to really struggle to give me a single answer to it. You've got world mic power, which means you've got the mic for 15 seconds, and whatever you say, advice you have for the world, will be broadcast into everybody's ears directly and translated into their language so they can hear it. And what do you say with the mic? What's your advice? The most textbook ESTJ answer is, I don't know, I have to think about that for a while because I have to come up with something original, and it's going to take me a while to figure out something original that's good. So that's a difficulty with concision, and a difficulty with, and it also means like not recognizing when you probably shouldn't use your own idea. You should use some existing idea, maybe. You know. The other way that it manifests is if I give you a sentence, and you can learn your way around this. ESTJs can learn their way around a lot of things because they're SI tool. But if I ask you sort of cold to reduce a sentence like this into its core concepts, and here's an example. If you want to go into education and work with children to teach them in the classroom, then you should have a clear understanding, which is to say, not be confused about or have any lack of clarity regarding why it is that you're doing that thing, namely your purpose. Okay, so reduce that sentence to the shortest version of it you can that includes all the concepts, all the distinct concepts. And I'm not going to say the answer in case you feel like typing it into the thing here. If other people might type it into, in which case they might ruin your if you see their answers, you know, they might ruin you. You'll be ruined forever. I mean, an indefiniteness of belief correlates most strongly with unipolar. Well, Alien 60, your answer and mine are different. In other words, unipolar will believe it when they see it and experience it for themselves. And in that regard, they have a lack of faith or capacity to believe in things that they've not experienced for themselves. Does that mean that no ESTJs or ESFJs will ever be believers in a God? No, it doesn't mean that. Because there's a lot of other factors in practicing some sort of religious faith than the actual tendency towards belief. But my dad rejected all the religious shit, and he moved away from his religious family out to California, or to Europe, I guess, and you know, I think the reason he got a philosophy PhD is because he saw it as becoming he saw it as theology school for atheists. No, the sentence, Jesse, was, if you want to be a teacher, you should know why. That's what the sentence said. It said a lot of redundancies in there. But what it said was, if you want to become a teacher, you should know why. Sure. I mean, plenty of ESFJs and ESTJs will be religious, and plenty won't. And the thing is, though, the actual practicing of believing in things and faith in things is one that is not specific to religion at all. Like, it means, well, like, I mean, my dad will often I'll believe it when I see it about things that really he shouldn't have any doubt about.
You know what? Like, yeah.
You're talking about me, I don't have a lack of faith. I'm a believer in lots of things. I mean, that was the first major hurdle in ENTP self-growth that I had to get past was I had to abandon nihilism and take an affirmative stance towards life. In other words, I needed to affirm, not just negate. Oh, that's not faith. I just recognize that doctors aren't as smart as I am, usually. In other words, they may be more knowledgeable, but to successfully deal with a given medical problem that I care about, you need to not just know a lot, you need to think about it well. Someone described FI Polar as no internal fulfillment. Internal fulfillment. I mean, I've experienced fulfilling emotions by myself before. Like, I clearly remember an instance standing in. I had to go back to the hotel to get something for one of the students when I was at the Nationals tournament. And it was when I was at the hotel room by myself that I got a text saying that my team did in fact beat my former employer's team the day prior and did in fact advance. And I felt a lot of emotion in that moment, and I was by myself. So yeah, we know all about it now. Well, they're not. The thing is, they're not addressing like okay. You take this apparent, from all I could tell, ENTJ neurologist, right? What is he not paying any attention to, naturally? SI shit. He doesn't care about the particulars of what happened. Even though that's determinant on this question. You ask how many questions you want. Like I have... Oh shit. You have used up 3 full questions. 3 full answers of mine or something. I like getting asked questions. I much prefer getting asked questions than being argued with by people. I really appreciate you. I do have a friend who I believe is an ENTJ, and I would like your opinion as to what are some indicators of SI blind spot. Not caring about any of the particulars, not needing examples for anything, having trouble providing examples for anything, trusting their instincts and observations over anybody else's experience. These are all going to be expressions that possibly grate on you, since you're SI tool. You're going to be like, my tool function is not seeming to work on you at all, because they're SI polar, and concurrently, if he's an ENTJ, his tool function is not working on you either. When I try to NI my dad, it's like banging my head against a tree. Because of course, NI is it's like the issue of the Roman dodecahedron. There have been a lot of proposed explanations for what that thing was used for. Nobody really knew for sure. And we still don't know for sure. Because to know for sure would mean we'd read from source material contemporaneous to the time, from some Roman writer, a description of the thing and how it's used. That would be confirmation of what it's for. But one explanation for it is so much better. Came out eventually. Somebody posited that it is a surveying instrument, and the explanation is so much better and more fit than even the other, sometimes very good explanations, that it just has to be the case. When they actually took it out and tried to use it as such, it worked as such, as hypothesized, and it made perfect sense with all the other vectors. Everything fit into place. So that's the explanation. Those Roman dodecahedrons are 12-sided things, but it's an NI truth. I can't prove it to you as the correct explanation over, say, the glove knitting explanation, which is somebody demonstrated the video, somebody demonstrating how you can use it, and the holes where they are, it's perfectly set up to knit a pair of gloves or a glove. You can start off by knitting 5 fingers really easily, and so people were thinking for a while maybe it was used to knit gloves, but it's not a perfect explanation because first of all, it's an awfully pricey kind of bronze item for a knitting tool, and also people had this is in the northern part of the Roman Empire, so people had been obviously attending to these matters long before the Romans had invaded, so it just doesn't make any sense ultimately. I mean, it doesn't make enough sense, even though the demonstration looked good. What does make sense is the surveying thing, because the dodecahedron has different size holes, and because it has different size holes, and one's bigger than the other, you have to move it a certain distance away from your eye, and then they look like they're the same size. And then if you line something up in the distance in a certain spot in that hole, then you get a reliable distance marking thing. Okay, well, thanks, Geiger. That makes you a better doctor than any of the doctors we've talked to, right? Because doctors don't seem to think they need to justify their claims. I'm not going to believe their claim unless it's justified, right? I'm willing to accept that. I just need to hear what the mechanism is. Do I understand what that mechanism is? No.
Goodbye, my party drug. Taking my B12s.
Well, but here's the funny thing. When we asked the psychiatrist, which drug was least likely to negatively impact her, he said nitrous. So this is a situation we have when we're operating under uncertainty regarding what the cause of this is. Now, what we should do and will do is go ahead and get the B vitamin levels tested in her. But the thing is, if it's caused by the serotonin syndrome, then the B12 factor is irrelevant. I mean, we got B12 vitamins right here.
I take them.
Yeah. I mean, I asked a psychiatrist what the harms of it were, and he didn't mention that, but that's fine. The thing is, it's not a harm of it if the B12 didn't cause the symptoms. And if the B12 did cause the symptoms, then it's just coincidence that precipitating the serotonin syndrome was definitely there. It definitely happened. That's why she was able to not take her Prozac for a month. But it did just incidentally coincide with the sudden onset of dramatic neuropathic symptoms. Is that how? I mean, it's like, if we just think about it a little bit, right?
He had to go through a dozen papers before he could find something digestible and concrete. So I don't think it's the nitrous.
The cases where people have problems with whippets and B12, people using large amounts of it, using boxes of it a day for days and days on end. Well, we don't do that much of it. I mean, we'll split a box every few days, or sometimes, sometimes we go. We can't afford it all that often.
Like a time where we went for a week and we were able to get it, but we don't.
I mean, but even when we get it once a day for a week, we're doing 25 of them each, box of 50. We don't.
It's not that much.
Yeah. The thing is, whippets tire me out. They make me tired. They make me want to go lie down after not very long. So, Jack, I'm agreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with the whippets B12 theory. I'm agreeing that the problem is antidepressants mixed with DMT. I mean, the point is, given everything, I'd be absolutely shocked if it were the B12, because then literally what I just described was true, that there was a sudden onset of symptoms from the B12 that was coincidental, dramatically incidentally coinciding with this other factor that produced serotonin syndrome at the same exact time that's unrelated to the neuropathy. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's an NI thing again. When you look at it holistically, it really strains credibility to imagine it being something other than the serotonin syndrome, since it definitely coincided with the onset of serotonin syndrome, which definitely occurred. So the idea that it's some other separate secondary cause unrelated to that magically coincided exactly with it really stretches all credibility, Jack Torrance, fucking don't. Jack says, I'm just wondering how you didn't think it through before going through doing psychedelics. Why no restraint or second guessing it before? Actually, we did think it through, and I researched it ahead of time, and we did DMT successfully multiple times without any problems. And in fact, one of the reasons I was reassured was because of the short interaction time with serotonin and DMT compared to other drugs. Now, as a matter of fact, it turns out that the SSRI ultimately ended up making that moot. I had forgotten researching it until a couple nights ago, in which I remembered. I was like, "Oh shit! I remember. I did research this before we did DMT the first time." And it seems like, well, and after you've done it a few times successfully and not had any problems, it's natural to stop worrying about it. Really, maybe now we know we shouldn't have, but to a certain extent, it's like you live your life with a reasonable expectation. The catastrophic shit's not going to happen if you're not doing catastrophic shit. So it's not like Rachel was up all night smoking crack or something, right? It is the case, though, that Corey was like wanting us to get like full blast DMT'd, So we were being encouraged and coached in massively inhaling it. The thing is, obviously, if we could go back in time and change, especially the day after, where it's like I was blithely assuming everything was fine, and hey, hit this, and Rachel was operating the same basic premise. Was like, I guess everything's fine, and then, it's like at least that the next day, if we go back, obviously she wouldn't hit that shit,
I mean, I'm a partier too. Like,
right.
I realized that. I mean, I honestly didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about my prescribed drugs at all, because I was so used to doing them all day, every day, and not having any effects from it. So I just figured, hey, it'll be like that too. I mean,
so the thing is, Jesse, I don't really have any tips about playing chess. I would just say that I find for myself, and I'm not I'm neither a TE user nor an NI user, that I end up playing chess purely as a TINE thing, which is basically like this. Okay, well, if I move my guy there, then he'll move there, then I'll move there, then he'll get that guy, then I'll get that guy, then he'll get that guy, then I can get that guy. Or, if I move that guy, then I go, and then, about 5 steps in, I go, this is too hard. And then, that's a very shitty way to play chess. So, I mean, I don't have good tips for you, because that's how I play chess. I'm not terrible at it, but it's a very shitty way to play chess. Because they're busy in medical school. They're not out doing drugs like cool people. What's 5-HTP? I don't know what that is. Yeah. Eli says that he's an EHP and is the exact same way about chess. And also about tests, apparently. Oh, we don't do any supplements or anything like that. It's like, in my mind, the proper response to this happening to Rachel is, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's so unfair that you can't do the drugs you feel like doing. That's how people should react to it. Yeah, you probably have a better understanding of chess than I do, Jesse. So I don't think I'm a good person to give you advice about it. I suspect Sitene is better suited for chess than Sitine, and you're Sitene, and I'm Sitine. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how skeptical am I of science? I'm equally skeptical of everything. Which is to say, I'm not inherently skeptical, but it's impossible for me not to notice bullshit. You know? So, yeah, I don't afford science any particular extra legitimacy. Like, I don't affirm evolution. I negate evolution. I say that evolution fails to meet its burden to explain speciation, where life came from, or anything like that. And that it's complete hogwash. And it's not because I'm a creationist. It's because it fails to meet its prima facie burden to actually explain what it claims to explain. The board renews my heart when I'm playing lots of chess. My heart is filled with gladness to know that I'm the best. I've got 2 horses and 2 castles and 2 bishops as well. And I've also got a queen and king and a bunch of pawns, so hell, let's play chess. Where's my chess song? Thanks. That's the thing, I'm not skeptical about science. I understand that human beings do work. That some kinds of work that human beings do is work that makes arguments. And that in a strange bit of reality, it turns out that scientists aren't necessarily especially better at making the correct arguments than anybody else. So, I mean, the thing is, I don't distrust empirical data. I distrust interpretations of that data, and I distrust whether or not that data is being presented in the right frame, and I distrust whether that the claims being made about what that data establishes are actually correct. You just broke a bone in your foot. Jonathan Basanti, what are we going to do with you? What are we going to do with you? I'm skeptical of people. The problem is, people generally aren't especially good at managing framings and aren't especially disinterested in their approach to things. So those 2 factors apply to scientists as much as anybody else. The thing is, look at Alzheimer's. At some point, scientists established that Alzheimer's patients had unusually high levels of aluminum in their brain after they died. The cadavers did. So, a lot of people concluded that aluminum causes Alzheimer's disease. So that's why we have things like no aluminum deodorant says on the label, because people want to avoid aluminum because of Alzheimer's disease. Of course, it could just as easily be that the Alzheimer's disease causes the blood-brain barrier to weaken and the aluminum get through because of that, rather than being caused by the aluminum, right? It's the problem about science is this. Science presumes that it can operate framelessly, but it can't. And it never does. And so, because it's not explicit about its own frames, it's a little lost in the fog of war, so to speak. I mean, science can provide knowledge plenty, fine. When we have a scientific reason to believe something, it basically means that some sort of empirics and a theory or an explanation all fit together, right? Such that it's the correct answer. So, in the olden days, when people used to wonder, where do maggots come from? I see the meat there right now. I leave it there. There are no maggots in it. I walk away. I come back a day later. It's full of maggots. Where did they come from? And there were all sorts of theories about where they came from. Things like non-theories like spontaneous generation. Like, just because you say words doesn't mean you've actually given an explanation, right? Spontaneous generation is the absence of an explanation. It has a name, as an explanation would, but it's not actually an explanation, right? It's the absence of one. They just appear. So then somebody says, okay, well, I think it's flies laying eggs. Or maybe they just want to see what happens if you cover it up. So they take that same meat and they cover it, and no maggots. Okay, well, I don't know the exact details of how they figured this out, but okay, so now we know that whatever it is that's causing maggots is getting it onto the meat from outside. It's not coming out of the meat from inside, unless coming out of the meat from inside is hindered in some fashion by this stagnant air of the covering, under the covering, you know. So anyway, at some point they test out, okay, well, it's not that, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. They can eliminate certain things by doing things like covering it, right? Maybe they think, oh, the meat turns into these little worms when it gets warm enough for some reason. Well, then you can test it. You can heat it up to see if it causes maggots in various environments, you know? So the thing is, certain empirical results eliminate certain possibilities and empower others. So it's like, here's something about science that we can trust, is plate tectonics. Why? Because prior to plate tectonics being established and proven, for many years it was considered pseudoscience, and the prevailing theory was the expanding Earth theory, that the Earth was expanding like a balloon, and that's why the continents were getting further apart from each other, right? Well, somebody finally thought of a good way to check it. And that way to check it was, hey, I know, if in fact it's the expanding Earth, then all of the fault lines should go inward. If it's plate tectonics, then the fault lines should be jagged, and some go up and some go down and all over the place. And then they went out and empirically investigated a bunch of different fault lines and determined that they were all jagged. None of them consistently went down. Now, so this is the sort of reasoning that can replace empirics entirely. We don't have empirics directly on plate tectonics moving, of continents moving around. I mean, maybe we do We do now. I'm not sure. But for a very long time, we certainly didn't have any empirics on continental drift. However, this guy intuited the answer, and then he died, having never gotten acknowledged that he was right. And somebody else intuited the test, and that convinced everybody. Because why? It's fucking convincing as fuck, right? In fact, if it were expanding, the fault lines would all go inward, and if it's plate tectonics, they'll be all jagged and stuff. So the thing is, there's a perfect confluence of what you would call the hard way around intuitive reasoning, which is go look at the fault lines. So there's that. When that is working to support strong intuitive reasoning, that's when you have good science. When it is working to oppose strong intuitive reasoning, like it is in evolution, that's where you have bad science. So everybody who's working in the field of evolution is actually working in the field of genetics, and to the extent that they're meaningfully establishing anything about evolution, they're only meaningfully establishing things about genetics, and they're extrapolating certain kinds of results into ridiculous interpretations, even though I've completely disproved evolution many, many times over at this point. The thing is, Jesse Scamra, here's another thing I'll say about your function stack is with any in the third slot, you will have a tendency to come up with a lot of different ways something can go wrong, and or come up with a lot of possible ways a given problem would be solved, and you won't know very well when it's not a good idea to use it. So like at a certain point there become too many variables to any some shit out. Like, okay, well, this could play out like meow or like meow or like meow. If it plays out like meow, then we can have it, then it'll probably play out like either meow or meow. If it plays out like meow, then it'll play out like meow or meow. If it plays out like meow, then it'll play out like, that's too many things already. It's already too many things. You're trying to any something that's you have to wait until the next thing realizes, you know? Any DOMs know when not to any, but any 2 and any 3 both over extrovertedly intuit in certain circumstances. And for ESTJs, it's either trying to plan things that you can't plan yet because you have to wait till certain conditions become clear whether they're either met or not met, right? Should we strive to disprove a fact and only when it becomes clear it cannot be disproven shall we consider it valid or true? Maybe I interpreted it wrong, but are you saying we don't do that? I'm saying that we're always dealing with claims people make. And people make claims for a lot of reasons. Someone might make a claim because they believe it's in your best interest, regardless of whether they know it's true or not. Somebody might make a claim because they believe it to be true, but themselves don't actually have good enough reason to believe it to be true. Someone might make a claim that that they have good reason to believe is true, but turns out to be false anyway, you know? The point is, when somebody makes a claim, it's up to the person hearing the claim to decide whether or not to challenge it. Once a claim is challenged, the burden falls on the person who's making the claim to substantiate it. Now, the way that plays out in academia is not people having conversations with each other, but rather papers that people publish and stuff, right? So, where am I going with this? I'm going to California. California, here I come. Things do go fast in the GWFE chat sometimes. So what I'm saying is, whether or not I afford or claim truth, the status of truth, is a separate matter than whether or not you afford something the status of truth. And you can only definitively say that a given statement ought to be afforded the status of truth conditionally. So, in other words, if you make if statements, establish contentions and stuff, then you can, and define terms, then you can conditionally prove that it must be so, provided we use those definitions and such, right? But it's not the case that anything anything is really true unframed. The statement itself has to be framed, whatever it is, in order for us to meaningfully evaluate its truth value. People trying to find out reasonable ways to prove stuff, while some mathematicians got so bored of easy mode proving and decided to exclude the law of the excluded middle from the legal modes of reasoning. Why? Explain. Can you remind me what exactly it is the law of the excluded middle is? So the thing about truth is that we really need to generally well, I mean, I get why. Because that's not implicit, and it's not implicit to the fact that, well, at least this. I don't know if it applies like this or not, but it's not implicit to the reality that P occurs in a statement that either P or not P. Because it's like, if you imagine P being a bird flies and not P being it is not the case that a bird flies. That bird flies versus it's not the case that bird flies. There's a third option. That bird isn't here. There is no bird. That's why. When we think of it in terms of something with an attribute, it becomes clear, right? It's just when we think about it in terms of a statement like, that is a bird, well, okay, it either is or is not true. But when we think about it as, a bird here is singing, it is not the case that a bird here is singing. There's additionally a bird is here, but not. There's a difference. There's this reality where you could either mean there's a bird here that's not singing, a bird here that is singing, or that there's not a bird here at all. Okay, cool. Well, you probably know more than I do, Sky Gear. You are, after all, taking all those fancy math classes. Reasoning. So in quantification theory, it accounts for that factor I'm saying right there, with what's called universal existentiation and universal instantiation or something. I don't remember exactly the words. The ends validate the means. Well, I'm sure they do validate the means for you, but they don't justify them. The ends just sissify the means, Jesse. That's all they do. They sissify the means, okay? You want your means to be made into sissies? That's what's going to happen if you justify them with the ends. I need you guys to know that the ends don't justify the means. And the only way I can be confident that you're going to get the message is if I rap it to you. Of course. Perhaps. If you don't want to jam it, I'll never get started. And I don't want to wind up being parted, broken hearted. So if you want to tell me, say yes. But if you don't, girl, confess. But please don't tell me. Perhaps. Not responding. Oh, why won't you respond? I'll close some other apps that are hogging resources. Quit hogging resources, you applications. You scoundrels, you. Oh, we got one tab open. Okay. This is a big, file, but oh mother, as they say. Alright, here we go. Now you're going to learn the ways of the people. The ways of my indigenous forefathers. Running toad, jumping lizard. Gravity is God. Really? So it's God who makes me fall to my death when I fall off a building? How terrible of him. Why does God make me fall down all the time? Being gravity? Just like me, he wants me to always fall down. When the meow 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 meow. Okay, so listen. The ends don't justify the means. Okay, so listen. No ends be justifying no means. Okay, so listen. The ends don't justify the means. I don't like your utilitarianism. Please take it away and shove it in there behind your knees and your pants down below, but your butt cheeks though, and above your calves, and so that's behind your knees, Joe. Shove it there, where I don't have to look at a square in the eyes no more. Cause I don't like your utilitarian or your utilitarianist oration. It's bad. It makes me want vacation from being sad because you have, instead of using what should be used, you've used what? You've justified the ends with the means. I mean, you've justified the means with the ends. Yeah, that's not right, my friend. You've justified the means with the ends. You can't say this is gonna have good impacts, therefore I can do this shit. Even this shit is a violatory of everybody's right about it. In fact, you should avoid violating people's rights. If you can't find a way to do it correctly, then don't do it at all, alright? No. Utilitarianism is bad. Utilitarianism is bad. Deontology is rad, but utilitarianism is bad, oh yeah. That's right. All night. Listen, Rawls, you can take your bale of ignorance and shove it up your pig tent, where your ignorance is kept. You can take your bale of ignorance test and you can say that it is the best, but I think it is just a mess. Yeah, I don't like your bale of ignorance test. Oh yeah. That's not a good way to decide anything at all because it presumes you can always anticipate how shit's gonna turn out. So if you know what we want it to be as a system, then well gee, why wouldn't you have already made it so in reality? Instead of just sitting there and being complaining. I'm being all complainy, yeah. I'm being complaining, oh yeah. Yeah is the most sufficient and unique expression that you've ever heard. Well, it's also an extraordinarily useful and effective word. You can use it to mean this, you can use it to mean that. You can say miggity meow or meow mew. You can say meow meow or mew meow meow or meow 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 pew. You can say all of those things meaning different things every time you say each of those words brings a new season, a new holiday. Valentine's Day is coming up this way. Just February 14th, not far away. So if you've got a significant other, get your wallet out and ready to pay. I saw a statistic on the news today that said the average couple been together 1 year, 2 year, they spend $250 each year on Valentine's Day. That's too much, I'd say. Well, in contrast, people who had been together who had lasted a lot longer than that spent a lot less money. Eventually they got tired of being all, honey, here's some expensive shit. Let's waste money on it. And they just said fucking, like my dad did today, he gave my mom a little heart full of candy tray and that was it, and we've on our way back to the nursing home. And say, would you like that story? No, Jeremiah fix. It's bad when you do it too. You think you can utilitize that stuff, but you really don't know what you do. Don't utility tie too. If your utilitarianism gets in my way, I'm gonna hit in the face right too. So take your utilitarianist ways, take them away all of your days and put them away up above the cans of soup in the cabinets. In the soup cabinets. Put it in the soup cabinets. Put your util away in the soup cabinets. You've got cabinets and cabinets and cabinets devoted to soup. I've got multiple cabinets all filled with soup. They're my soup cabinets. I've got multiple cabinets all filled with soup. Oh, they're my soup cabinets. I've got multiple cabinets. Each of them is filled up with soup. That's why I've called these cabinets my soup cabinets. Yeah, I've got soup cabinets. I've got a lot of soup cabinets. I've got some soup in those cabinets. Look at me, I'm rapping about soup and cabinets. I've got soup cabinets. really have soup cabinets. Why would you lie about soup cabinets, Eric? Why would you lie about having soup in your cabinets? Don't you have a... Oh. The beat's over. That beat was over anyway. Don't worry. Oh, don't you worry your pretty little head. There are other beats to choose from. Let's try this one. It's kind of a electronic-y sounding one. Because everybody likes electronic-y sounding things. Right? Sure you do. Oh yeah. Listen to that electronic music. Justify the means. You were kinda bad and you were kinda mean. You were kinda sad and you were kinda lean. And don't forget you're bad and also kinda mean, because utilitarianism is not any good. And you should not embrace it like you should. Utilitarianism is no good. It takes away the principles that should constrain the action of the government or individuals at that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Utilitarianism is no good. You should abandon it like you should. Utilitarian is the justification. It's just abandon everyone. If you've got no limiting principle, you're done. Let's talk about a guy whose name is kind of gay. It's Immanuel Kant. I can't say that it's not, but that is okay, cause he taught a lot, namely that the ontology is the preferable normative system. See, because it actually gives results. If your normative calculus is relying you expect a normative metric to work like that? You can't, it's fact. Utilitarianism is just a way to ignore your duties and try to bust away from decency, obligations, and trust. You got to limit your capacity if you want us to believe in what you're doing is okay and right, and not fret about it every night. Then you're gonna have to do a better job of justifying. How many dimensions do we get? You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I bet you could have 6 or 7 dimensions if you want, but in the 7th dimension, shit is very, very hot. If you have to live in dimension 7, then be sure to wear your swimsuit, because to swim is the only way to stay alive in such hot heating. After all, you could take a beating from the sun, leave your sunburned red and done, and all messed up for the evening. One time I did that, and I was very sad at that fact. Later on, and Dad was sad as well, and he told Mom, and she also felt sad. But that's not really relevant, Tom, here, because of course we're not talking about that. Stop getting me off topic with your anecdotes. That's what Eric says. Everybody is a motherfucking critic. Let me tell you that, Scarrier. It's true, I'm not absolutely perfect in my freestyles. Sometimes I have a little bit of filler like, oh yeah, or somewhat like that. Something, I don't know, some kind of fat that is sitting on the meat. It's not been trimmed away. Fills up some empty spaces. Okay, that's okay. You know, I'm not perfect, Joe. Skygear, Bo, whatever your name is. So don't be an anus, okay? Whatever your name is, don't be an anus. I'm not going to invite you to the grand opening of Food Cube. That's what you're going to get as your bad consequence, dude. Because I was going to invite you to the grand opening of Food Cube. But now I'm not, and that's your consequence, dude. It's actually probably a service you're doing me. I'll probably try to limit it, like a currency limit is for access to the economy. Why? Because comma.
Can I give you a kiss?
Yes, you can give me a kiss. Of course. I glove you with your his art.
Oh,
I glove you with my his art. I glove you with my his art. Don't forget, I glove you with my his art. I glove you with my his art. I glove you with my his art. Don't forget, I glove you with my his art. I glove you means my his art is in glove with your his art as well, and we can exchange them for Valentine's Day. It's swell to have a transplant occasion. Way away from the hospital bed. We'll be using life. We won't be dead, and we'll have each other's hearts now inside each other's chests. And mine works pretty well. Yours not the best, but that's fine. We'll be fine. We just transplant hearts every time we want to change back again. It's fine. Countably or uncountably infinite. I can count infinitely, uncountably infinite things if I counted really well then, but I don't, so I won't count that high. I gloat, but I can't because I lie. That's why I'm not counting up to infinity. I won't die for eternity, counting forever and ever and ever and ever and never getting to stop. Why? Just to get to the top of infinity? I'm not sure it has a top though, see? So what a waste of effort that would be. I think I'm done. Yes, I'm done. Oh, yeah. Actually, what? Let's see what. You want to sing with me? Or sort of Or can move a little bit. You should sit here, it's fine. Yeah. 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 Your mom's face says yeah. Everybody is a critic. Everybody's talking shit. Regardless of what you do, and it don't matter. Everybody is a critic. Oh, there goes the beat. Well, I guess we won't play it with the beat anyway. That's fine. Alright, let's play it without the beat.
It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Struggles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Someone buy us some more time.
Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I have something to say. Life can strangely be forgiving to those who stay awake all night. And mostly voices say to give in. They'll try to stop your will to fight. But whether I'm supposed to be here or just be soon forgotten, noise is sort of based on what I see here and also on what I avoid.
It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Troubles past,
Struggles still to come. The day is nearly done. Can one buy us some more time? Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I have something to say, something to say. Indeed, something to say. Anything else? What was the song we played normally?
Gregory.
Oh, right. Here's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory
In disguise, he hates lies. Wants to confront the man, always telling them. But every time he tries, they only run and hide. Again he is tonight.
the chance to yell at them. So now he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. Doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise. He hates the lies,
Want to confront the man, always telling them. But every time he tries, he'll only run and hide. Again he is denied
the chance to yell at them until the bridge brings a new approach. Sneakily, he'll try to encroach up on the guilty men. Perhaps he'll get the chance to yell at them. He's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise, hands in his pockets. Now he's walking down the drive, averts his eyes. He doesn't want you guys to realize that he's Gregory in disguise. That was nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this down now. No, I don't think anybody's made a... I mean, Gregory's not that uncommon of a name. I don't think.
I don't think it's that uncommon.
Now, Gregory in disguise would be an uncommon name. But not as uncommon as my new name. Baby Pig Poop Face.
Yes. Baby.
First name Baby Pig. First name Baby Pig, but it's either two words or hyphenated. And second name Poop Face, which is just one word.
Oh. Can we have it like written up on the screen so everyone can know?
Yes. Know this name by heart because this is going to be the rapper who next takes the world by storm. In 1 year from now, I will be touring the world. Rachel will be with me, of course. And all the biggest artists will be clamoring to open for me. Because Baby Pig Poop Face will have captured the hearts and imaginations of everyone in the world. If you're possessed by a German demon that loves Canadians, oh, a German daemon. I think all daemons love Canadians, right? It's part and parcel of agreeing to be a daemon in the first place. It's like, it's got a, if one of us is going to sit there, I'll sit there, it's fine. I just hadn't turned the camera yet.
Oh.
You can have the green chair, it's fine. I mean, unless you're comfortable there, if you want to sit there, it's fine too.
Where would you... I'm
happy to, it doesn't matter, Rachel, you pick. It really doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So then I'll sit in the green chair.
Okay. I'm just going to move this window off of your face. Okay. Stop being like you're being. Oh, you're still not on screen.
There we go.
There we go. The whole world, yes. Even people in Argentina. Even people in Argentina are going to be smitten, amazed, captivated, delighted, and willing to do anything to see live Baby Pig Poop Face. And the reason my name is Baby Pig Poop Face because I'm both a baby pig and a poop face. The only reason my face doesn't look exactly like a poop right now is because my makeup artist Brad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we can't forget about Brad.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Bradley, he goes by either. But the thing is, he works his magic on this face every morning with a lot of powder, blush, rouge, various other liners and stuff. And it looks like a regular human face. But if I were to just wipe like this, you would see beneath there, it's just all hard, lumpy poop.
Wow. And I asked him if it was like literal poop or the poop emoji face, and you said it's the natural bowel movement.
Yeah, it's a natural bowel movement. Brazen Ball Subtle Dick. He can be the bodyguard for little pig poop baby pig poop face. The reason I'm baby pig poop face is because I actually am a baby pig. Okay, like, you know, I'm a Chinese pig, and let's face it, I'm kind of a baby. You know, poop face is not an insult. Listen, stop invalidating me and my poop faced peoples. Okay. I choose to wear makeup because people prefer not to look at a big piece of poop. But, there's nothing wrong with being a poop face, okay? I am reclaiming the term for my people. I look cool, huh? I've got a black hat, I've got this cool shirt on. It's a Blue Exorcist shirt. My rapper name, and I'm going to change my legal name to Baby Pig Poop Face. First name Baby Pig, last name Poop Face. Yo, set up the rig and let me tear down this place. What? Detroit? Chicago? St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, Stuttgart. How you doing tonight? It's me, Baby Pig Poop Face. I'm here to give birth to pigs and poop on faces. Let's go.
Thanks, Yo-Yo.
When I was born a pig. And also born a baby. And to this day, I'm still a pig. And I'm also still a baby. I also realized that day that my face was made of poop. That's why I'm called Poop Face. An alternative music genre. Maybe I just look like somebody who's got warm arms and cold ears. Have you thought about that? Oh, sure. I know I look so cool that you can't help but say, hey, Eric, you look cool. But maybe it's purely practical. Maybe I just have warm arms and cold ears. Have you considered that possibility?
Should have known.
I do look a lot like Eric with a beanie on. I look a little fatter than Eric, though. Oh yeah, Eric's fatter older brother. I could lie and say I was the drummer for Nirvana, except I'm pretty sure everybody knows who that is. I guess I could say I was the drummer for Nirvana. No, it was spelled differently. N-E-R-V-A-N-A. It's a little known band. It was not related at all to the N.I.R. band. Our music sound is way different. I just refused to change the name. You know, it's like, hey, we had this name first. We just happened to misspell it. Sit down the state. Sit down the side. So since this beanie
Get my beanie too.
if this beanie causes too much disruption, I am willing to change hats.
Would I have to wear a different hat too then?
I don't know. We'll find out how much disruption your donning of a beanie causes.
Okay.
But mine caused a lot of disruption. It upset everybody a great deal.
Wow.
It caused a number of catastrophic failures in the power grid. Which is unfortunate. I can put both hats on, actually. There. Now I'm double-hatted. Oh, well, Sky Gear. I didn't know that was your wish at the time, but you got it. Now I look like some sort of, like, government official from Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like the ones who sit in the room.
Also,
Yes. Aren't they like kind of like Jedis?
well, it seems like a lot of the characters in Star Wars are basically just regular people, but they've got weird looking hat things on like this, you know. I tell you what I'd like to be able to do a perfect imitation of. I'd like to be able to do a perfect imitation, including learning all the Ewok words, of C-3PO telling the story to the Ewoks. That'd be a great thing to be able to do an imitation of.
That would be.
I look like a medieval archer with a coif who accidentally ended up in Victorian London right after a trip to New York. This is a bit of a mismatch of different affects, I guess. Corduroy pants and the t-shirt go fine together. I typed him as the king. Elvis Presley. I typed King as Elvis Presley.
Wow.
Turns out he's still alive. And still at Graceland. Amazingly, he faked his own death and then just hid in the closet for a week, and he's been living in Graceland ever since. Nobody thought to look there.
Wow.
Pretty surprising, huh?
That is surprising.
I guess he spends most of his time on the weekends visiting Dollywood.
Oh, how clever. What a change of scenery.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think there's a connection between genetics and offspring type. I've known identical twins who were clearly different personality types. And families are at least as likely to be totally disparate. Like Rachel's family, ENFP dad, ESTJ mom, not a lick of FE between the two of them. And yet they've got 3 kids, ISFJ, INFJ, and ENFJ. My parents, ESTJ and ISFJ, made an ENTP. That one makes a little bit more sense. It's like you can kind of add up ISFJ and ESTJ and maybe pretend to get ENTP. But it's like, I guess 4th NE plus 3rd NE equals 1st NE or something? Maybe you minus the 3 from the 4. That's how you do it. That's it. By minusing the 3 of one parent from the 4 of the other parent, you can get the 1 of the child. So, since my parents both had NE and shared units of, I can minus them directly. So my mom had 4 NE minus my dad's 3 NE, at least 1 NE left for me, and that's why I'm an
That's for
NE
you.
dom. Yeah. And that's how it works. Magic.
Pretty
No,
magical.
that's not how it works. I don't know why people are into the types there. I cannot figure it out.
No.
It's like nothing links. It's not hormones in the womb. It's not nurture. It's not. I'm pretty sure you're conceived that way. Well, Jesse Scomer, I don't doubt that it's frustrating for you. Because, and you're going to view it like that because that's typical of people operating with their second slot value. It's like SI DOMs have more SI than you do, so to speak, but it's not operational for them. They aren't trying to use it to do things all the time. When you're using something to do things all the time, it feels like everybody else's mana is shitty. It feels that way for me with TI. I mean, not obviously like Sky Gears and shit. Some people come around with good TI, but by and large, I think God, people's TI is so shitty because it's my operational value. So I'm ultra familiarized with what using it well looks like. Well, not really caring about it per se as an absolute value in and of itself, but the thing is, and I'm also accustomed to seeing it through the frame of reference of doing stuff, acting as a subject, because our second slot function links in its slot to subject style behavior because it's how you accomplish shit, how you address situations by default. So, and the thing is, like, I think I have a lot of SI, but, you know, my dad clearly thinks my SI is shite because he seems to expect me to remember stuff that I don't remember, and I don't expect myself to remember because it's too detailed, you know? Well, he expects me to remember lots of logistics stuff. I guess I just find logistics very dull, or it's not something to think about, it's just something to write down, you know? But my ESTJ dad likes to talk about logistics. And I just kind of, my eyes gloss over and I go,
Unfortunately, mine do too.
But, well, Sky Gear, me too. Mom was ISFJ. Dad was, like, Red from that 70s show. You know, he's not unlike Red. I mean, if I had to say, like, what character on TV or movies is most like my dad that I've seen, I would probably, the one that comes to mind would be Red from that 70s show. He's kind of a lot like him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, always kind of like, Is Eric from that 70s show an ENTP? Seems more ISFJ, maybe. But it's hard to say.
I always thought of him as an INTJ. But that could be him in real life.
I don't crap on SI parents at all. You'll never hear me crap on it. I have nothing but mad respect and love and admiration for my parents, both of them. They're way better human beings than I'll ever be. You know, it's like way better at being human beings than I'll ever be. Just to say, you know, they were good at working and making money and stuff, and they were good at having fun and relaxing and taking care of themselves. And that's something I'm just not really good at, you know?
I think you do a good job I think you raised a child.
But yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life when I was upholding the appearance of what my dad's good at. It still didn't have the stuff underneath like investments and insurance and stuff like that. But I was successfully, making good amount of money, being head of household. My significant other also was making a good amount of money, and we raised a child in a house that we occupied. Well, I occupied for 20 full years, even though we were renting. I rented that place for 20 years.
Wow. That's good.
So it's like I did do that part of life, but I didn't do the part that would have set me up for now, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't have some, like, investment CDs and shit like that or anything like that. I'm just broke like everybody. Broke like kids, But I don't really care. Was my dad more proud of the symbols of success? I mean, my dad spends his days attending to tasks that need to be done for part of his overall life management planning shit. So he's always aware of at all times, like, when the next payment going out to Sunrise is for mom and all the deadlines for everything, and he'll chat with me about them occasionally, like, well, we've got taxes coming up and blah, blah, blah. Well, he didn't do both that. My dad's not a very touchy guy. Oh, nice. He's not really huggy. I mean, even with my mom, he used to be like, when she'd be like, okay, goodbye, I see you off to work, and she'd like hug and kiss him. He's, oh, okay, that's enough now. So, my dad has a weird relationship with symbols of success, so to speak. Very schizophrenic. Like, some things he'll be like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about this wine and how fancy it is and stuff. But then he'll also do shit like when the couch rips, you get duct tape that's vaguely the same color as the couch and put it on there and go, looks great, it's fine. So, we never bought a new car until he bought his first new Mini in 2004 or 5 or whatever. That was the first new car that he'd ever bought with me around anyway. The difference between ESTJ and ICJ is basically FE polar or NI polar. Neither of them is particularly super testable. Like, at least for me, I don't have super good tests that I have a super lot of confidence in. But If you throw a lot of shit that you have a little confidence in, it all comes back one way. It's pretty clear. Oh, it's a Chips Ahoy cookie. Well, Eastern Europe should be driving nothing but Yugos. What happened to the Yugo? It didn't last very long, huh, as a car brand. It's like the cheapest car you could get, right? A Yugo. So the reason they're hard is because we keep them in the freezer, which makes them stay delicious.
Yes. It's a trick I didn't know.
Am I right though?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. They're good that way. You just gotta make sure you close the flap too when you put it back in the freezer, or they'll get freezer burn. But if they don't get freezer burn, they stay good forever, basically like that. And they're crunchy, delicious. Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore? Aw. Well, it
I
became
think it's
because it
Serbia now.
became the countries of Yugo and Slavia. While I am a Bosnian, you're a Herzegovinian, yet we can still be in love. It's a song of peace and truth for the world to hear. Hey, Bosnian and Herzegovinians and Serbians, hey, let's all hug. All of you hug. You don't really need that, okay, Yo-Yo? You just want that. Now, what I want to talk about is a fellow that I'd like to call Slobodan Milosevic. He's a supervillain with a cool name who killed a lot of, I think, Bosnians? Or was it Herzegovinians or both? How many Herzegovinians are there? Has anybody here ever met somebody who says, I'm a Herzegovinian?
Not I.
I haven't. Are we sure they exist? Herzegovina. What kind of a name is that, you know? Cuddy Cuddy Uchko? What's Cuddy Cuddy Uchko? How do I do the name in orange thing? I mean in blue? You have to be a moderate. If you're talking about like Sky Gear, the color of his name, well, you have to be a moderator to have that. How well educated are you in video games? Needing, wanting, desiring, loving. These are words that people say sometimes. Oh, they're talking about adding. Oh, you gotta at somebody's name. And then that's when it turns orange or whatever, so that the other person's attention is drawn to it. Like, oh, I guess they're talking to me. You know.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Really, Morrissey? The first time you ever got it what you wanted? I don't believe you. Surely you got at least one thing you wanted. Before then. Okay, fine. I don't care what that character from that show is. I don't remember it that well. I don't care. Fine. Whatever. He's ENTP.
I don't think he's ENTP.
I don't remember the show though.
If you don't remember the show, well, then you don't remember the character. I don't think he's an ENTP just from living with you.
Well, Eric from that 70s show was good friends with Slobodan Milosevic, wasn't he? Slobodan Milosevic, Slobodan Milosevic, Slobodan Milosevic, Slobodan Milosevic. Slobodan Milosevic is a name that just really rolls off the tongue. It's got the right amount of syllables, the right amount of... It's iambic the whole time, you know. Slobodan. No, it's actually trochaic the whole way. Slobodan Milosevic.
Slobodan Milosevic.
Slobodan Milosevic.
Slobodan Milosevic.
You just haven't earned it yet, Eric. You just haven't earned it, son. You just haven't earned it yet, Eric. You must suffer and cry for a longer time. Marcy.
Oh.
Thanks, Marcy, for the letters of encouragement.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Slobodan Milosevic.
Is he a tennis player?
No, he's a former dictator of Serbia, basically. Then I think he killed the Bosnians and the Herzegovinians. I'm not sure about the Herzegovinians. I wish someone would explain the Herzegovinians to me.
You have mentioned it more than once, so it's definitely still in your mind, huh?
Can you imagine that 20 years ago, the 70s were already 30 years ago? That is trippy. If I remember the 70s, you know.
Wow, that's...
We invested in cryptid currency. Good. I'm glad all are lying hand. Let me tell you, Squatch coin. Squatch coin. It's going to be the hottest new thing. It's a digital currency, blockchain currency, that is imbued with the magical powers of Sasquatch. That is to say, it's a currency that can be powered by the trees. Unlike other cryptocurrencies which need electricity to power them, Sasquatch coin can be powered by the trees. Additionally, of course, there's Mothman coin, Loch Ness Monster coin, Chupacabra coin, Yeti coin, and Kraken coin.
That's a lot of choices.
Well, a lot of cryptids.
There are a lot of cryptids.
There's also pterodactyl question mark coin. I don't know if you guys have seen that one video
I didn't.
of something that definitely looks like a pterodactyl flying in the sky. Yeah.
I believe it.
Some people say it was a bird with something in its mouth or something like that, but I don't know, it sure does look like a pterodactyl. I wish I could still get his deals. Boy, he gets the best deals for shit. Let's get physical, physical. I wanna get physical. Let's get into physical. Let me hear your body talk. Your body talk. Let me hear your body talk. That's a euphemism for farting.
Was that a 70s song or an 80s song?
Right at the cusp of the 80s. Probably 70, probably 80 or 81, I would guess. I'm guessing 81. But yeah, let your body talk. Let me hear your body talk is a euphemism for let me hear you fart. It's how your body talks.
That is how your body talks.
Farting is just body talk that gets stuck in the body or in the butt. Farting is just body talk that gets stuck in the butt. Poo is just food that gets stuck in the body. Tears are just feelings that get stuck in the body. Humming is just a song that gets stuck in your head. And shooting up is just needles that get stuck in the body.
Needles? I have a thing with needles.
You don't like them.
I don't like them.
Let's see. What else gets stuck in the body? Oh, urine is just water that gets stuck in the body. Sweat.
Oh, sweat.
Sweat is just laziness that gets stuck in the body.
Oh.
What else is there? Oh, dandruff. Dandruff is just dead skin that gets stuck on the body. It literally is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Flip-flops are just shoes that get stuck on the body. See? Not really stuck, but, you know, none of the things are really stuck. That's the point. You can always knock them loose.
Yeah.
Semen is just lust that gets stuck in the body.
What's snot? Boogers.
Snot's just social awkwardness that gets stuck in the body. When I think of snot, I think of like a snotty kid going.
That's so extreme. But it's true, they can't like wipe their nose, so they generally have very snotty noses.
Spit is just spit that gets stuck in your mouth. Spit is just chewing that gets stuck in your body. It gets stuck in your mouth. Spit is just chewing that gets stuck in your mouth. And blood is just spit it out. Superfluous? Yeah. But you can spit without spitting something out, I guess, so maybe not. No, I agree that it's not necessarily. Not because you can spit it in, but rather because you can spit without spitting it out. Okay. Blood is just lava that gets stuck in the body. Right. Good, Yo-Yo. Good.
Yo-yo.
Correct. Correct. I'd be a Republican president. I'd be a non-partisan president. I'd probably have to run as a Republican, but I'm not going to pander to the Republican Party. I'm going to say, you should vote for me not because I'm the most Republican or the most anti the other guys, but because I'm the best candidate. And there's only one Eric around here, Jack. Okay, and it's me. Thank you, 39.
What is, so James Carroll says that blood is anger stuck in the body.
No, that's yelling.
Oh.
Yelling is anger that's stuck in the body.
Yeah, a lot of people yell when they're angry.
Or maybe finger wag or fist shake. Or double fist shake.
Oh.
Or arm fold in a harumphy fashion.
Oh, how dare you.
That's anger stuck in the body.
Stomping foot, too. Like, hey. Oh, sorry.
I'm older than that other Eric, Skygear.
Yeah.
I'm Eric Prime.
Real Eric.
People don't know this, but prior to my birth, nobody had ever been named Eric before. But after I was born, they went back and rewrote history books to include some previous Erics, because they knew they're going to have to cover it up now. Part of a massive cover-up. I mean, I plan to appeal to everybody's civic duty to be a good citizen and care foremost about the country. You're welcome. You're away here to settle your head. Well, let your head settle like heavy metal into Bevy's kettle. Trump's in ESFP. That's Jack Daniels. She's drinking. She's quite a... She can really belt it down. It's impressive.
Arnold Palmer. I always have trouble saying it.
Yeah, it's the hardest beverage to say. Arnold Palmer. That'd be a good short trivia question. What's the hardest beverage to say? Answer: Arnold Palmer. Hi, Dad.
Can you send me Jane's picture?
Yes, sure.
I mean, not a video, but a still.
Yeah, I will send you it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Trump is a cookie. Well, if by cookie you mean dumpster fire, then yes. I think that's the best description for Trump. He's a complete fucking dumpster fire. It's not like he's just like bad or evil or something. He's just a complete fucking dumpster fire. It's like he has no idea what's going on, and he's like, the trash is burning. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm Google photoing. Simply Google photoing. This one, Pia. Oops, Pia. I does not want video, so I will not give him a video. No, go back. I'm just pushing check marks, Google Photos. Don't get excited. Piao. 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 And Piao. Share. We're going to share and share alike. Il Papa. Here you go. Exclamation point. It's like 3 FE points right there. That exclamation point is worth at least 3 FE points.
Yes.
If you love exclamation points and you love Sasquatch, you're in the right place, because this stream's all about cryptids. Is anger part of God's plan? Yes. When I get angry, that's God's way of saying, stop pissing Eric off.
Would you like to sit here? Your elbow keeps banging into. I
keep banging into you?
No. I noticed that you banged your elbow into the.
Oh, that's fine. I'm fine. How would you debate Trump if he came out like he did against Biden in the first page? Super aggressive, interrupting all the time. I mean, I it's impossible for me to say how I deal with that. I would have to deal with it on the fly. I wouldn't prep for a debate, a presidential debate, except in the sense that I'd be in an ongoing state of prepping for the presidency, in general, and that some of that information, new information I garner, might make its way into the debate. But I go in there just knowing I already am well prepped for the job, certainly for the debate. And Trump won't pwn Eric with his idiocy because I mean, like I said, I can't tell you, this is something that I've experienced in plenty of occasions before. I'll tell somebody, look, like talking to Jeffrey's mom. Like, I can't explain exactly how I'm going to do it, but trust me, PayPal's going to refund your money. And she wants me to articulate, well, how do you know? What are you going to do? And the answer is, well, I know because I can see the argumentational leverage points here. And I can see how I can work this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle. They've given me this piece of ammunition. and I, you know, I can at least gesture at these kinds of threats, possibly. So the thing is, she kept worrying about, well, you know, but, you know, are we actually going to do that? And my point was, if we get beyond the talking part, I've already lost. If I'm going to win, it's going to be here in the talking part. It's not going to be in any doing part after the fact, okay? But you have to let me do it my way to win. And you have to have faith that even though I can't articulate exactly how it is I'm going to win, nevertheless, you're positioned here to win. Like, regarding that sort of thing, I'm like, you're supposed to be about chess, right? I understand the board positioning. And while I can't explain to you exactly which set of moves will end up being checkmate, you got them, you know? But you gotta trust the process to play out as it plays out. It's an NETI process, you know? Just 2 more years, Boba Fett, and your cat will be able to smoke.
Yeah.
That'll be nice.
That would be nice.
Then your cat and I can hang out and smoke cigarettes together.
How fun that'll be.
Yeah. I can't wait till my cat turns 18.
Me neither.
Oh, wait, you have to be 21 now in California.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it's going to be a while so she and I can have a cigarette together.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
That is true, Jack Torrance. He won't play by any rules. I mean, Jack Torrance, I don't receive slanderous titles. I bestow correctly damning titles. It's just like, it doesn't matter what approach Trump would take or anybody else would take in a debate. They don't have any chance. By the end of it, it'll be abundantly clear that only one of us is competent. I mean, the thing is, I would say, you know, I would end up saying, being stupid isn't an asset, you know? And I'd repeat it until he addressed it. At which point he'd say something like, I'm not stupid. And I'd say, yeah, you're an absolute moron. Look at yourself. Look at you. You're not qualified to be president. You can't manage to think your way out of a fucking paper bag. You are truly an idiot. And, you know, it's like, I'm not justifying it at all. I'm just informing him with the passion of conviction that is obvious to anybody, that is true when the two of us stand and talk to each other, that Trump, compared to me, is an absolute fucking retard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's not going to be hideable because I'm not nice about shit like that, right? What might end up doing, it might end up turning people against me because I'm too arrogant. or because I was too brutalizing of the man. But him brutalize me? The fuck? Never in a billion, trillion, zillion years.
I'm gonna go check on the laundry.
Okay. Right. I'd say, hey everybody, Trump's right. I am bong ripping Eric. But guess what? That's way better than being borderline retarded. And there's no disputing that that man can't or won't think. He doesn't justify anything. He doesn't understand anything. He blusters and pouts and shoots up tweets like a 14-year-old girl. He has no business filling the office of the presidency to anybody who wants to look at the man sanely and the situation sanely, right? So even it doesn't matter if there's, I will win chaos. I will win chaos as well with the truth. His lies won't defeat my truths in chaos. I too can be loud and insistent and pushy and ignore the rules. And I'm better at it than he is. No, I'm demonstrating what needs to be done if you're going to deal with Trump, right? You can't go in there and try to be dispassionate and win without being emotionally engaged with the thing, right? It's because I so genuinely believe what I'm saying, and because I find it genuinely offensive that somebody did such a great disservice to the office of the presidency by manifesting its execution in such a puerile way, you know? So the thing is, what I'm demonstrating is one of the reasons I will win the debate is because I have truth, justice, and the American way on my side. In other words, I'm not a politician who's trying to beat another politician at being a politician. I'm the actual solution. I'm the real deal. I'm Eric the Real Deal Holyfield. In other words, I'm exactly what anybody could ever ask for in a presidential candidate. I have comprehensive knowledge. I am intelligent. I am restrained, pragmatic. I'm a meta-rationalist. I'm everything that the country needs. And I'm also not an indecisive pussy, which some intuitives are, you know. Not by type, I just mean it tends to go along with intuitives more than with other things. You need to come with high levels of energy. Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. James Carolus. That's a very good idea. That's a very Effie approach to it. Because that's one thing I have definitely as an advantage is my actual authenticity. You see everything I do and everything I am. And if the worst thing you can do is call me Bong Rippin' Eric, well, that's a pretty good sign. Because we don't get to see anything that he's got going on. Who knows what the fuck he's doing behind closed doors. We know he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, you know. That's not a good sign. But regardless, why is he cover up who he is so much? Because he's completely fake. And he's shining us all on for years. A lot of us want to believe him because he seems legitimately passionate, but that legitimate passion is born of stupidity, not authenticity. He's too stupid to realize what an idiot he is. I mean, the thing is, I can appeal to the lowest common denominator more effectively than anybody else can, too. That's the thing. You're mistaking me for somebody who's only willing to have certain kind of fights. I'm great at name calling. I'm great at slinging mud. I'm great at having mud slung at me and ignoring it. Well, I mean, Boba Fett, of course you do. I mean, and the thing is, that's just implicit to my reality here. That the people who should be directing their attention to making that leap of faith, regardless of what they think, are instead directing their attention to negating this. So that's foolhardy of you, but totally expected. I agree, Skygear. I mean, the fact is, as I've indicated before, multiple occasions, there are certain levels, conditions I need to meet before I can reasonably launch a campaign that's going to be meaningful and have a chance of actually doing something, right? I got to have a certain level of visibility first. I got to have a certain amount of resources first. And so, as I've indicated, I'm doing what I can to improve my visibility and earnings, but maybe I could be more disciplined about it. The bottom line is, I'm going to have to wait until the conditions are right to actually launch a campaign, and I can do more or less to making those conditions happen, but they're basically money and fame. How much exactly do I need in order to launch a real campaign for president? I'm not exactly sure, but more than I have now. So am I going to run for president? Absolutely I am. Well, I mean, some things are appropriate to be outraged about. But you don't. The important thing to do is to not project that outrage onto some group. It's appropriate to be outraged at an individual who is attempting to attain a position of public service, but has no respect for the institution of democracy. It's appropriate to be outraged at that individual for his failure and lack of character, right? That's very different than the kind of outrage community you're talking about. Well, Boba Fett, that's part and parcel of the deal, right? All right, so keep it on coming on. It's very easy to sit back and say, and to be one of the people who never accomplishes anything because they don't make any. They don't have the capacity to believe in things until it's already too late, right? It's important to believe in things before other people do. Like, I'm always ahead of the curve. But I get that it's difficult for an NI person to accept that this is a reality that's going to happen because I can't articulate the exact process because, of course, it's going to rely on me being me. I have no team at the moment because I don't have sufficient resources but really, I don't have sufficient visibility or sufficient resources. With sufficient resources, the visibility thing can be overcome. So the thing is, once I have sufficient resources, there needs to be an initial investment by the individual, essentially, into hiring a professional elections team. And then launch a professional election campaign, And then, of course, you hope to be able to repay yourself from campaign donations so that it doesn't come out of pocket. But you've got to be prepared to spend some out-of-pocket money. I'm going to have to be prepared to spend some out-of-pocket money in order to meaningfully pull this off. And I'm going to have some resources to draw from that are more substantial than the ones I currently have. So, I mean, I get the fact that Biden's not a good president. But the weird thing about government is passive bad is much less bad than active bad. He's passive bad. He's not trying to blow shit up and be all activist and stuff, particularly. And so that's a less harmful form of bad. We have a president, it's Biden. Just because he has dementia doesn't mean he's not president. Reagan had dementia through the last couple of years of his presidency, and he was still president. Well, King, of course, the thing is, it's not meaningfully a debate because there are moderators who are asking questions and trying to frame the capacity of people to, in other words, they try to limit direct clash, which is what they should be encouraging. Regardless, I'll win all the arguments. I'm well practiced at giving concise answers to complex policy questions that are the best answers and give the best warrants. It's what one has to do to successfully debate. I do have bones. I've got more than 2, but less than a dozen. Look, anytime anybody's going to say something like conservatives are bad, liberals are bad, that's bad. What you're doing right there is bad. Don't try to create divisions that don't exist in order to blame a boogeyman that doesn't exist so that you don't have to engage like an adult with policy matters. Be happy. I'm happy-ish. I'm happier than Sadenstein, the sad guy. I'm happier than him. He's very sad. That's why his name's Sadenstein. His named the Sadenstein Bears. Oh, proper pH. That's the proper pH for me. I like having things that are proper and that have the proper pH. The answer, James Careless, is I'd work with the Justice Department to impact case law, which is a much more meaningful way of impacting policy than actually dealing with the legislature directly. Those are the sort of answers you get from me as a presidential candidate. Actual answers to the actual question you asked. And surprisingly, wow, that's a great answer, right? Some call me a rambling man, but I do a lot of thumbing and a kicking cans. But they won't do an answer good to call me names. You might call me a rambling man, cause I do a lot of thumbing and a kicking cans. But it won't do an answer good to call me names. My daddy wasn't Willie Woodlow. I wasn't born and raised in no ghetto. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they giving. I'm proud and white and got a song to sing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I'm gonna find me a wealthy woman in a line of work that don't take no diploma, cause I ain't got much to lose but lost to gain. You might call me a good time fella, but I ain't no black and I ain't no yellow. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they giving. I'm proud and white and got a song to sing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. White boy looking for a place to do my thing. Full-time boy, been around a little, and I like guitar and I like the fiddle, cause that's the kind of soul plane. Blue-eyed Billy, feared and ready. I got to work just to be somebody. I'm a wild boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they giving. I'm proud and white and got a song to sing. But I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a wild boy looking for a place to do my thing. When I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a wild boy looking for a place to do my thing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a wild boy looking for a place to do my thing. Life we devisively unlike and from which we'll rarely budge. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These far and backstabbing entities ensuing heartache and misery follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, cursing, and misery. We're stuck in such petty larceny. We all partition the rectories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Judy shares now her limits, hoping Julie will too. Jerry shares for 4 minutes. He just can't share things like they do. Julie always thought that she should have bought two when she had the chance to buy. Julie always thought about should and ought until she thought that she would die. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities ensuing heartache and misery follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, cursing, and misery. We're stuck with such petty larceny. We all partition the rectories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Kaboom! That was pretty good. I usually fuck that song up a little bit more than that. It was 100,000 million years ago. The time ran slow. Nobody at the show placed the slabs below and let them go. They will start to grow. More years ensue and tears gnashing through. Holy slabs come to view. Unchangingly true and eternally new. But when the slope appears in charge today, options at large show other ways. Give each a chance now, once quick to check, but don't get caught standing on deck. The slope presents a fork. It's not easy stopping short. Too far along to turn around. Fucking fucked it up royally. I guess I'll play it again. I guess I'll start it over. I normally don't train wreck like that. That's called train wrecking. When you're playing a song in a band. I normally don't train wreck like that, but I did there because I always get confused in that section. It goes like that though. Now you know how it goes, but my brain is a little split second behind. Do I want to play it again or not? I'm gonna play something else first. Maybe I'll come back to it. What else might I want to play? Going to the low, up mountain, going to the low, far from the city below. Going to the low, up mountain, going to the low, far from the city below. Mountain sunshine on the trees, far above the smoky city. A mountain sunshine on those trees. Mountain sunshine on the trees, far above the smoky city. Mountain sunshine on those trees. Going to the low, up mountain, going to the low, far from the city below. Going to the low, up mountain, going to the low, far from the city below. Mountain sunshine on the trees, far above the smoky city. Mountain sunshine on those trees. Mountain sunshine on the trees, far above the smoky city. Mountain sunshine on those trees. Yeah, on those trees. Wino bendage. I don't play a lot of leads. I do a little bit sometimes, like I've never been a leads player, so I just don't really play that many leads. That's what it boils down to. And so you can't really bend when you're playing chords that much. It's kind of a doesn't really work thing. Or at least I don't anyway. It was 100,000 million years ago. Time ran slow. Nobody had to show. Place the slabs below and let them go. They will start to grow. More years ensue. Tears gnashing through. Oh, holy slabs come to view. Unchangingly true and eternally new. But when the slip appears in charge today, options at large show other ways. Give each a chance now, once quick to check, but don't presents a fork. It's not easy stopping short, too far along to turn around. Perhaps the better course was headed ever north. Now there's a fitter force, enemy ground. It was 100,000 million years ago. Time ran slow, nobody yet to show. Place the slabs below, let them go. They will start to grow. More years ensue, and tears gnashing through. Old slabs come to view, unchangingly true and eternally new. But when the slope appears in charge today, options at large show other ways. Give each a chance now, once quick to check, but don't get caught standing on deck. The slope presents a fork. It's not easy stopping short, too far along to turn around. Perhaps the better course was headed ever north. Now there's a fitter force, enemy ground. It was 100,000 million years ago. I still fucked up a little bit, but not too bad. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get to Marjorie's tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business, thinking now about what to call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to return to the work left rough. He'd get back to it eventually, but his visions piled up and his plans would interrupt all the work that started off so hopefully. Now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing factless to useless. Oh, how all the people will shout its name. And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly here now. He won't provide explanation regarding the why or the how. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Exciting, delighting, Gerald plays his part. But Gerald still knew there's too much to do, and he had dropped time in the underview. Too much to rebut, so where now and what? Too much time spent nitpicking the skew with you. Or Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get to Marjorie's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business, thinking now about what he'll call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a thought. Self-feeding snake. You're a self-eating snake. You're a snake who eats himself. Self-eating snake, it's not good for your health. You should eat other creatures than the one that you are. That's not far from the truth for everything that's alive at all. At all. Self-eating snake, why eat yourself? Take that tail out your mouth, put it back on the shelf. Find yourself an elf or two, perhaps make them yourself instead. Because you're eating your head with your tail and your food and your thing and your what and your. You are eating your head with your tail and your food and your thing and your what and you are eating yourself for the last time and also the first yourself will make you dead. Even a snake should know that. Instead, you're a self-feeding snake. What's going on in your brain? A self-feeding snake, I think you're lame. If you eat yourself, you'll be dead and insane. That's not good, that's not something desirable. But if you listen to me, you can live strong and free. Self-eating snakes, listen and live. Yes, if you listen here, the self-eating snake near, you'll become a self-not-eating snake and survive. There you go. Thank you, darling.
So delicious.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I love Glenn. I love Glenn. Glenn is a name that sounds like you're hawking a loogie. Glenn. Glenn. I do not have the very best name that I could imagine, but at least I'm not named Glenn. Eric's not the greatest name that I could imagine, but then when would I ever promise the greatest name in human history? And to be honest, I got to say Eric is okay with me. It's not great, but it's okay, and that's not bad at all. But now poor Glenn, in contrast, has to be named Glenn. And what a terrible name to be burdened with, then. It's kind of like being named Barry or Burnett. It's not a very tough name, I guess, and surely others will save thee. Wow, what a gay-ass name you be. So-called Glenn.
I agree.
Glenn. Yeah, my name's Glenn. I'm glad my name's not Glenn. Yeah, what a terrible name. It's like Gail. Gail's the female equivalent of Glenn. Glenn and Gail should get together and have babies or something, you know? Nobody else wants to be with Glenn or Gail. Both those two names are just horrible names. Can you create a song called I Left the Desert? I've been parked out in the desert for I don't know how many years. I'd driven my RV as far as I could, back to the cactus and the trees, farther than I should have, but I ended up in the desert, you see. And I've been sitting there for months and years, waiting for time to pass and drinking all the beers in the fridge. But now it's time to recover the life I had before, when I worked at a very fancy grocery store. Yeah, I hope to reclaim my identity today, because I have left the desert. I said I have left the desert. Watch me go, don't be sad, don't be saying things that are glad or sad or bad or mad or made of chads, made of shad, shad road too. That's not acceptable for you to consume, because there aren't that many shad left. They need the babies to replenish the population of shad. So I left the desert today. It was the best Western way. I stayed in Best Western motels that night, and I finally had electric light. Yeah, I finally had TV inside. I had left the desert. Thanks, darling. Jacko. Hey ho, Jacko. I say. Jackaronanos. Jackamemnon. Jackamemnon was one of the lesser known Greek generals. I'm sure everyone knows about Agamemnon, but do you know about Jackamemnon?
No, I don't know about either.
Agamemnon? I barely know Mon. Okay, it's time to end this stream because I'm going to have to work with Jeffrey at 7 p.m. And you know how Jeffrey's mom is. I don't want to get another call from Jeffrey's mom. Man, okay, but can you just make the impossible happen? No, I cannot, lady.
No.
I'm no miracle worker. I've got to go
Thank you,
away.
Yo-Yo.
Otherwise I would Boba Fett. Instead I've got to go. And you should too. Perhaps go to sleep. Seems like you're never asleep. Indeed, you're always here. Regardless of what time it is. You should probably get some sleep. You know, you need to sleep too. Even people in India need to sleep. I am? Already? Wow. That was quick. A lot quicker than I thought.
Thank you. He is.
Thank you for unilaterally electing me. Good night and good luck, America and the world.